In this IG Live, we're going to talk about parenting with other caregivers, specifically your in-laws and your parents. They say it takes a village to raise a child, but what if your village shares a different parenting belief than with you? So when there are different perspectives on child rearing, there are definitely going to be conflicts. So I hope that today's session will give you some insights and tips on how to manage children, um, manage your parents and your parents-in-law in order to help your children. Okay, so I have a guest with me. I am inviting one of my students, Allyna, and she's going to join me in today's sharing. Let's see if I can get her online. Okay, so we're a little early. All right.
Hello.
Hi, Allyna.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, so
Okay.
maybe before we start, I want to ask the people who are watching, okay? My question to you is how many of you are staying with either your parents or staying with your in-laws? Okay, so you just say yes or no. Yeah, I think this will give us very good information what we're going to discuss later, right, Allyna?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to thank you again for joining me to touch on this very tricky topic. I think it's very brave of you and me to talk about this, but I think we want to be very real. This is exactly what we're experiencing. So I hope today's session will provide some insights to our parents. So maybe to begin, Allyna, you can share with us the ages of your girls as well as how is the arrangement like, the child rearing arrangement at home?
Okay, so first, I have two girls. One is who just turned 4 years old in April, and then another one about 2.5 years old. She's turning 3 this December. And then this October, we'll have a baby brother joining us. Yeah, so there'll be 3 of them in total. Yeah, so it's a house of toddlers. And I would say it's always good to have grandparents living with us. And so for myself, we stay with my mother-in-law and then with a helper. So in the daytime, the girls go to school. And then in the evenings, my mother-in-law and the helper are the ones who will help to fetch them back from school. So in a way, this is most of the time they do that. So that's why for us who are working full time, we don't really need to rush to pick them up unless my mother-in-law has her own activities or plans for that day. So otherwise, we always have the extra pairs of hands to help us out. And then when they get back, it's usually the helper who will help them to do all the showers and then getting them ready for dinner and everything. So I get to so-called take a break lah. Yeah.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
it's undeniable that when we get extra pair of hands, usually they are helpful. They say like
Mm,
it takes, I was just saying it takes a village to raise a child. But what if this
yeah.
village, right, don't share your same parenting views? So it becomes very, very
Mm,
tricky. So over here, I just want to just kickstart this by saying that we should not force and expect our parents or in-laws to parent the way we want to parent. So because they were brought up very differently. And during like 30, 40 years ago, they don't have Instagram, they don't have social media, they don't have all these resources to educate them. They cannot equip themselves. Oh, sorry, I think somebody said I'm very soft. Okay, I'm going to try again. Samantha, please give me some feedback. Yeah, so I was saying that they don't have the resources, they don't have the strategies. Nobody told them that, do you know that if you spank a child, research has shown that it actually cause a lot of trauma in them and it can last throughout their lifetime. Nobody taught them that. So
mm,
we cannot expect our parents or parents-in-law to know all this unless we make time to teach them and educate them. But of course,
yeah.
they must be open to learning, right? So I don't know, Allyna, do you have, because in our Sprout Telegram, you mentioned about how you work it out with your mother-in-law, and I thought that this is very inspiring and something that we can all learn from you. So if you don't mind, share your secret, no, share your tips with us.
To be honest, okay, because learning about this positive parenting has been about 2 years, and even till now, yes, I do see little progress with my mother-in-law. But even till now, to be very honest, we still bicker maybe 80% of the time. Because definitely it is about how I want my girls to learn how to discover, explore, and learn for themselves. When the stakes are low, let them just try it out. Even if uh they don't they are not successful in the attempt, it is still something that they can learn from without causing too much harm to themselves. But this is something which my mother-in-law cannot. So so a lot of times I'm always faced with situations where the moment she steps out of her room, she sees the girls playing. The first thing she always says is, "No, you cannot do that. No, don't do that. You get off now, or you stop playing with that. Sit down now. I'll turn on the TV for you." So for me, is I'm very happy that they're away from the gadgets. And then they're just playing with toys, open-ended, whatever. They're playing very nicely together. But once she steps in, and then all of this starts, and then it becomes very chaotic. And she raises her voice often, so they also will start shouting at each other. So these are the challenges I face. Over these 2 years, I've come to learn how to pick my battles. Sometimes if I'm working from home and I'm busy, I'll be like, okay, just let her do what she wants anyway. As long as they don't come and bother me, then that's fine. Objective met. So she's the one that is taking care, so I'll just let her take full reign on how she wants to do. But then times where when we're all in good mood, hang on yeah, because I got friends over that they
Okay,
are all
okay.
playing. Yeah, so
Okay.
so when she's in a good mood, so as with what I learned in the positive parenting course is every time we want to teach, we have to wait till everybody is receptive. So during times like this, usually during meal times where everyone is in a good mood, I will share with her the articles or whatever I learned in your course. I will share with her, and I'll say this is the reason why I do this, and I give her the scripts. I'll tell her maybe you can try it this way. So along the way, she does see improvements, especially my 4-year-old. She's seen her grown from 2-year-old when I started this course to 4 years old, and I always emphasize, I really spent money. I invested time and money into this course to teach her the way I'm doing now. So definitely, it's not. I pluck all this knowledge from anywhere one. So she knows it's actually backed up lah. Then she sees for herself the changes, and that's why she becomes a little bit more receptive. And it's the little wins are really when I hear her using some of the scripts that I've been telling her. She tries her best because she doesn't speak English. And then so she tries it in her way when she speaks Mandarin lah. And thankfully my girl is receptive to Mandarin as well. So yeah, and then I see her trying to do the acknowledging first, and then after that going to why cannot. So yeah, but 2 years, yeah, it took me about 2 years, although we're still arguing. But then yeah, I think the main thing that really helped is knowing when to really picking my battles, knowing when to step in, and knowing when to keep my distance and just let her have her authority over the kids. Because after all, I also don't want to portray to my children that this is the grandparent, but the mom is always, or the dad is always interfering, and then undermining her authority as a grandparent. Yeah. So I also will tell my girls, I say grandparents are here to 他们是来疼你们的. They are here to dote on you, give you what you all want. Okay, that is the job of a grandparent. So I always tell them my script will be, my job as a parent is to keep you safe and healthy. So this is why with me you cannot do certain things. Yeah.
All right, guys,
Yeah.
can you take that down? This is what I always teach. I always teach you, all right? My job is to
Yeah.
keep you safe and healthy. So I'm doing my job. I'm your mother and I have to do my job. So if I were to pick up some of the key things that you have mentioned, number one, pick your battles. Those of you who are listening, you are allowed to pick your battles. You don't have to, argue every single thing that your parents or parents-in-law say, because it's very exhausting. And we need to understand that the relationship that you have with your child will be so strong that you don't have to worry that one or two incidents with the in-laws or parents will affect the child. You know, as long as you strengthen your relationship with your child, that connection is there, then you are able to very quickly just repair whatever has happened. So one thing, pick your battles. Secondly, I think what Allyna said was really, she said 2 years. So 2 years ago, she is my 2 years ago, right? You are my first batch. Okay, so
Yeah.
2 years later, all right, 2 years later, I have seen how these parents have grown, and because they educate themselves. So I cannot emphasize the importance of you educate yourself so you can educate your parents. Okay, I was told that my volume is still very soft. Okay, is my voice... Wait, is my voice a bit soft? Can you still hear me, Shanice? Okay, so sorry. Yeah, okay. So I was saying that we have to educate ourselves so that we can model. Oh no, still soft. Okay, let me see. Can hear? Okay, I'll try to speak a bit louder. Okay, Allyna, you try to go a bit softer. I don't know whether is it because it will over. Yeah.
Cannot hear.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think Allyna, sometimes you mute so that you can hear me. Okay. So I was saying that educate yourself, because if you don't educate yourself, you don't have the source, you don't provide the resources for your parents or your parents-in-law to hear, to learn and understand. So we talked about picking your battles, we talked about educating yourself, and thirdly is to model. So you model so that your children can learn from you, your partner can learn from you, your parents and your parents-in-law can learn from you. So even for myself, I have noticed that my own parents and my parents-in-law, because they follow me on my Instagram account, they are big fans, so I'm very grateful. But because they follow, and over time, you know, if you keep reading the same thing over and over again, it gets to you, and they know when to back off to let me take over. They don't cross the line simply because, you know, it's very, very obvious that this child is out of control, and they know that if they add in, they try to distract, it's going to make things worse. But I need to say that it takes time. Again, manage your expectations. You cannot expect your parents or parents-in-law to know that certain things cannot be done unless you set your boundaries very clearly, which is something that I want to talk about here. Because when we parent with other caregivers, we need to respect them, but it doesn't mean that you cannot set your boundaries firmly. So you can say things like, I don't hit my kids, and we don't want to hit our kids, right? Of course, you avoid talking about this in front of the children. I read in the book, and I've seen the research about how, you know, having lots of like conflicts around the child, actually, even though it doesn't really affect them, they are watching, and it affects their anxiety. So it creates a lot of situation where they cannot really predict what's going to happen, or like I mentioned yesterday about how they feel they are the one who caused the problem. Yeah, so I think it's important for us, you know, to manage the expectations, set your boundaries. If you cannot do it, get your partner to do it. Get your partner to help to speak. Yeah. I don't know, Allyna, do you have any other similar experiences? You know, maybe you got your husband to help in any case.
Yeah, he does because it's his mom. Hang on now.
This is real
Yeah,
life.
so he does step in, but then I guess the common thing that yeah, this is my 4-year-old Esther. Okay, so what I face more is more like my mother-in-law. She sometimes when she sees the girls arguing, the very traditional way is, especially if they're hitting each other, her traditional way is she will also hit them back to demonstrate that it is painful to hit. So for me, this is also one thing which I'm still trying to learn how to manage, because honestly, over this 4 years of parenting my kids, I really try not to go with hitting, because I'm already equipped with other methods of how to get them to cooperate. Even with the sibling rivalry, I've also been equipped with, knowledge on how to separate them and do things to role model it in the less so-called violent way. But my mother-in-law, till now, she doesn't. So yeah, so this one thing that I face, although not regularly, but I still do face it. And even before I could stop it or step in, she's already done the action. And then yeah lor, so if you have tips on how you handle situations like that, would be good, because I believe I won't be the only one that faces very traditional grandparents who believe of not sparing the rod and spoiling the child. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So grandparents who spank, why is it that they spank? Probably, when they were growing up, their parents spanked them. So they think that it's okay to spank the child, and they will learn. Okay, so that is them doing that. Now, if this is something that obviously something that is not good for the kids, in the long run, it will affect the child negatively. So what you can do, okay, when the parents-in-law start spanking or doing things that undermine your own authority, okay, like I mentioned earlier, you have to speak to them. Okay, if they're open to listening, that's great. If they listen but they try but it just cannot, we must understand we cannot change them. So don't bother trying to change your parents or parents-in-law. It's just so hard. I rather you channel your energy and your resources to your kids. So you let your kids know, why is it that you can't eat so many candies? Why is it that when grandma say things like, oh, you should not tell your mommy, but actually between us, we have no secrets in the family. So let the child know that grandma, grandpa, they are brought up in a different way, but we are brought up in our own way. And mommy, like you said earlier, my job is to keep you safe. Too much candies is bad for you. And I want to hear everything you're saying. I'm not here to scold you. So I think it's important for us to, again, draw the line clearly, focus on the child if you cannot work through with your parents or parents-in-law. I just want to add one thing. If you find that it's really affecting you a lot, right, in the house, you might want to think about how you can shorten the caregiving duration that your kids have. So, for example, if you can afford to give your kids a full day childcare, that might ease your challenges, your pain in having to deal with the afternoon, giving them lots of screen time, lots of unhealthy food. If that helps, no, don't worry about that. You can always, don't feel guilty. We always feel guilty, like if I do this, then my kids don't have enough time at home. But I think we all have to weigh. All our families have different circumstances. So I think for me, we also shifted out. I think that gives everybody space and time. We respect one another. So when we are in my own home, it's so much easier for me to, like decide how I want to parent, the rules in the family. But of course, I know some of you are working and you really need them to help you. So see if you can like shorten the duration. You can speak to them. You can get your partners to speak to them, and also to set your boundaries. I think actually most of them they all love the kids as well. It's just that the method is different. So instead of harping on why are they doing this like that, we already know why they are doing this like that. Let's see how we can get them on board. We send them resources. There's this Chinese speaking, this guy in Taiwan, Wang, I can't remember his name, on Facebook. He's very good with positive parenting in Chinese. So if any one of you need the link, you can always ask me. I'll send it to you. Send over research articles, even bite-sized articles, or even a newspaper. My mother-in-law is the one who gave me the newspaper article about positive parenting. She said, oh, this talks about what you're saying. Yeah, so she will show me occasionally. And I think when there's communication as well, it helps. So one more thing I want to add about communicating, right, is that when you communicate with your parents or parents-in-law, try not to get too defensive. when you get into a power struggle with one another, it's worse. So if you try to defend, and when we make decisions or we say things that are different for another person, right? Okay, for example, I say something about, oh, we don't spank, then your parents or parents-in-law will naturally start to think that you are questioning their parenting ability. Oh, so are you saying that I did wrong? But look, everybody grew up well, right? You married my son, right? Yeah. So when people start to get defensive, both start to get defensive, this conversation will go nowhere. So hopefully you find the right time, all right? You also connect before you correct with your parents or parents-in-law. So you can start the conversation. Maybe I can give some scripts as well. Okay, so like I know that when you brought up your son, you spank him and he listened. So now we at that time you don't have research, but now we have the research, and he has shown over decades, that children who are spanked or they are not allowed to explore, or they have to be very obedient, they turn out to have maybe inadequate skills in terms of interacting with others and all. So you can always bring up the research and show them exactly what it is, but you connect with the parent and the parent-in-law first. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think I want to take some questions now from them. Allyna, if you have anything to add in, feel free. Okay, unmute yourself. So, okay. This parent said Wang Hongzhe is the guy. All right, you can look for his name in Facebook. Okay, so I'm actually looking at question by CJX. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law will ask my older girl to hit back my younger girl whenever my younger girl hits her sister. So this is like what Allyna mentioned about the sibling rivalry, right? So if you see them doing that, the onus is on us, the adults, to tell your mother-in-law, tell your sister-in-law that we don't hit. When we hit the child, it causes trauma. When we hit the child, we are teaching the child to hit others. So when you can give examples, and at the same time tell your mother-in-law and sister-in-law what else to do. If you see the older girl hit the younger girl, what do you do? Okay, bring both apart. Make sure that they are safe. Wait for them to calm down. And I think it will help if you can model it. Maybe sometimes when you're at home and the siblings are fighting, you model how it's done and they watch. Yeah, so which brings me back to what Allyna said, if you do it, you show it, you give them the scripts, it's easier for them to pick it up and like share and do it and practice it. Okay? Yeah. Anything to add for this, Allyna?
Not really, but it's true. I think the role modeling part is it's very important. At the same way, it's one of the more effective ones because I do see how rather than me telling my mother-in-law what I wish she could be doing, instead when the situation arrives, I will just go right in and I show it to her how it should be done. Because as much as like how I will teach my children, if you are angry, this is what you can do. So in the same way, I equip my mother-in-law with the skills that she could use, because it's not about how she don't want to do it. It's really most of the time is how she don't know what to do. So I guess modeling it and then let her just watch. It feels less aggressive. Like she won't feel like, oh, you are teaching me what to do, like you said. So it doesn't make them feel like we are teaching them, but it's more of showing to them, then they will be more receptive to try it out themselves the next round, like hopefully. But yeah, so this role modeling part is the method that I also use most of the time when I need them to do it the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another question was not many are lucky to have in-laws that will be open. Some in-laws are too conservative. They don't want you to say anything, and it's really frustrating. Okay, we all can understand the frustration because you are there trying to help, but it feels like they're not even trying to listen to what you have to say. So if that is the case, like I mentioned earlier, for those who just join us as well, don't try to change them if they're not receptive to it. Okay, don't spend so much energy and time on that. Instead, we focus on building the relationship with our kids. And if you need to, just pick your battles. Some things you're more particular about. Some things you can just close one eye. Yeah. So we want to be very real. We don't want to, give you all this and say, oh, they will definitely work. Because in reality, when we're talking about humans to humans relationships, there are a lot of layers, and it's very, very tricky, when you don't want to put the blame on your parents or parents-in-law as well. But at the same time, if you just draw the boundaries clearly. If you want them to respect you, you also have to respect them. Okay. Yeah, let me see if there are any other questions. It's tough. Okay, what if kids are really too naughty and they don't do their homework properly at the table? So grandparents are exasperated and report to use the cane on the grandkids. The reason why they use the cane is because it works. It was so effective when they use the cane. The kids are fearful and they will cooperate. But this is definitely not a long-term solution. And right now it works also because the kids are very young. When the kids are older, you can no longer leverage on these methods anymore. They were just going to just, okay, cane me, they were just going to be very defiant, because to them it's like, so what, that's why I think if the grandparents are really using the cane, take the cane away. There's no cane in my home. My child actually saw a cane at another person's house, and he asked me, what's that for? He doesn't know what it is. So take it away. And if possible, of course, if the grandparents are insistent, then maybe you can teach them. If the kids are not doing their homework, what can they do? What do you want the grandparents to do? Maybe the grandparents are really just trying to help. They don't want the child to get scolded by the parents when they get home and homework is not done. So grandparents have good intentions as well. It's just that maybe that method is different. Okay, so if the kids are really too naughty, not doing their homework, then the people you want to help and address are your kids, not the grandparents. Just that the cane part, we have to be very firm. Tell them we don't use the cane. Another question by Ellie. It's tough when your own husband gets defensive when I try to communicate with him on my unhappiness about how his parents take care of my kid. Again, everybody was brought up differently. So I can understand why your husband can get very defensive, because when you say things like ask him to, can't you just don't yell at your child, you are actually questioning how he was brought up. And yeah, so what, I also yell, and my parents yell at me, and I'm fine, and I can get things done. I get the kids to obey. So if your husband is not willing to listen, okay, we talked about this yesterday as well. So find a good time. Find a good time to talk to him. Not talk to him when he's very stressed at work during his busy period, but instead of talking to him also, I think it's important for you to listen to your own partner. Why is he behaving this way? Sometimes when we can empathize, then the partner will also see that, oh, you are trying to understand me. In fact, everything we talk about here can be applied to our kids, right? Allyna, we talk about how we want to connect with our children, let them see that we are on their team. Yeah, all these things will work. So as you learn about positive parenting, you're also building up your own relationship with your husband, your own parents, even your colleagues. I have parents who tell me that I use this at work when they manage their team, connection before correction. Yeah. Okay. Shirley asked, may I ask what to do if my kid will pretend tired at my mother-in-law and want my parents-in-law to feed them? Okay. So during meal times, okay, these I will pick my battles. So I'll just share personally, when we go to grandparents' place once a week, I can see that my kids are definitely not eating as well as when they're at home. So when that happens, because I know it's once a week, I will just close one eye. I will just, let them do anything that they think that is most convenient. Yeah. But if you know that your child is intentionally pretending, okay, I would say work on your child. Let your child know that when we go over there, it's still the same dining. It's going to be the same dining experience, and our rules will still apply, right? When you are eating, you have to eat on your own, feed yourself. Let the child explain why is it that they want their parents-in-law to feed them. Is it because they feel like when their parents-in-law feed them, they feel this sense of power? They feel like, oh, they are able to control the grandparents. Then maybe we want to fill up, their child's need for control over time, consecutively, even before you go to your grandparents' place. All right. Sometimes it's worth getting the husband to talk to his mom. His tone may be very direct and bad since it's his own mom. It may cause more misunderstanding. Yeah, I think it's a very good perspective, right? If you know that your partner is the kind where he's very direct and will cause more misunderstanding, then probably you can come in, or you can all do it together, and yeah, let him know that, okay, if you are feeling very uptight or very like the mood is getting intense, you can do a timeout and I will take over, something like that. All right. Okay. Any tips, as my good-natured, playful 2.5-year-old has now started rejecting my mother, who is rather old school. Unfortunately, most of her sentences to him start with a no or a scolding tone. All right. So, any tips for the kid who is rejecting the mother? Okay. Of course, we try to speak to your mother first, and see if she can avoid saying that no or scolding. But if it's difficult, which it is, then we want to explain to our kids why grandma is behaving in this way, and how, if grandma says no, and you can decide, if you think that you really want to try this out, maybe you can get the 2.5-year-old to look for another caregiver. I don't know if maybe you are around or your husband is around, and to get to explain. But if that is the case and really very hard to change, then again we might have to take some more drastic measures if it's really affecting your 2.5-year-old child, if you're not able to pick the battle. And when I say drastic measures, it's like, sending the child to childcare a little bit more earlier if need to. Yeah. I don't have a quick fix. Okay, there's no like, okay, you do this, your parents and parents will follow you. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. If only, okay. Dusty Pink said, if there's no cane, the grandparents will use a ruler. So I think the root cause of it really is to speak to the grandparents and ask them, show them what else to do, and set very firm rules. We don't use cane, we don't use the ruler. Yeah, respectfully, of course, not in a very confrontational manner. Of course, you need to stay calm yourself. Okay, all right. How do you communicate with your parents, in-laws, or other kids' parents that your child is not willing to share his or her toys at the moment? Example, the child wants to play with the toys with himself. Okay, Allyna, I think you have a lot of experience with this about sharing the toys. How do you tell your parents or your parents-in-law?
What I like to do usually, I like to put them in the shoes and let them understand it from their own perspective. So for my mother-in-law, because she drives quite an expensive car, so I'll give her this scenario. I say sharing toys is talking about trust, between how much you trust that person before you want to give up your for the child to give up their precious toy to the other person. So in the same way, I say, just like how now today your car, if somebody that you don't interact with often suddenly come up to you and say, can you share with me your car? Do you think you will just happily, willingly pass your car to her? I don't think so. So you wouldn't want to share. But if, let's say right now it's your son who comes to you and say he needs to borrow your car, you will just, without questioning, pass him the car keys. So in that same way, when a child, they are playing happily, and a friend that comes along that they don't often play with wants to take the toy, we cannot expect the child to automatically pass it to them, because probably they may be worried that, what if I pass to the friend and I'll never get my toy back? These are real concerns that the child may have. Thankfully she understood the concept behind. She was like, I see. So of course this happens so often every day with toddlers anyway. They are always fighting over toys. But I can see that there will be times where she uses my script. So again, when it happens, I will model. I will really very dramatically show up how I will talk to the girls. So as much as I want to manage the situation, times when the girls are playing happily, I will be very intentional in pointing out how they are actually taking turns, because for toddlers, they cannot share, but they can take turns. So I will really point out how they are taking turns very well, using words to communicate with each other, to say, I would like to have that toy. I teach my girls the script. So when I demonstrate all this with my girls, we practice enough. When the situation arises, I use back the same method, and then my mother-in-law will have a chance, or in fact my own parents also, they have a chance to see, so this is how you manage all this rivalry between the children. So with the niece my niece and everything, they're all around this age group. So yeah lor. So it's a lot of modeling and then practicing with my own girls as well when they are very receptive to it. And I strongly believe in being very intentional in pointing out at what are the good things that they have done, so that they know that when I've done something well, mommy actually pays attention to it and give acknowledgement for it, and all the more it encourages them to want to keep doing what is right, and the right thing to do, rather than use the wrong ways to catch our attention anyway.
I
Yeah.
really like the analogy that you gave about the car. I think you have just given many people like bulb moments in their brain. Instead of just trying to tell them why you should not hit, maybe you can think of an analogy about why hitting doesn't work. Okay, sorry, off my mind, I cannot think of any analogy now. But if you can think of something that relates to your parents and parents-in-law, then maybe it's easier for them to understand. All right. Another thing that you brought up about being very intentional, I think this is something that again many of us might lack. Like we because of our emotions, we just lash out. Like we're not very careful with the words we use. As a result, our parents-in-law might pick up those words, or the children pick up those words. So being very careful. So if you hear Allyna talking about these scripts all over again, what exactly are these scripts? It's basically the kind of words that you can use so that you can be very intentional with communicating with your children. So of course there are many different types of ways to talk, and there are many different scripts that you can use. But if you are very clear how to help the kids, how to get the kids to cooperate, and you understand their needs at different developmental stages, it's so much easier for you to use those scripts that are aligned with how they are growing, and also to acknowledge their needs for exploring, for crossing the line. Then it's so much easier for children to feel connected to you and therefore cooperate. Okay, so I hope this is helpful for all of you. We're going to take just one or two more questions. If you have any, feel free to type it in. Yeah, so the reason why I focus on this script is because a lot of parents come to me and tell me, what do I say? Like, so like in the course I taught you, right, try to avoid saying the no word. Not saying we can't say no, but we can say yes with a condition. Yeah, so little things like that can really equip you with that skill to know, okay, during this moment, what I can do. Okay, so if those of you who don't know yet, we are actually taking in more parents who are keen on this journey of stop yelling with their children, and then feel more connected with their kids. So if you're keen, feel free to join us. The link is in my Instagram bio. That's where on Monday we'll close the doors and we'll just journey with parents for 4 weeks, where like what I'm doing with Allyna now, we're going to do live coaching calls. I will answer your questions exactly so that you know how to troubleshoot, you know the scripts that you can use. You can understand why your kids are behaving in this way because you have given me context, and I will not give you a one-size-fits-all answer because I can understand your situation when you send me your questions. So I find that this coaching component of the course is so valuable. Many parents that tell me, oh, every time I attend your call, I feel very rejuvenated on Friday, because our calls are Thursdays, right? So they always say Friday they are very good parents because they learn and they kind of like reframe their minds on Thursday. And this other parent, she messaged me and said the calls are like the booster to whatever she's experiencing. All right, we'll just take one last question. How to deal with parents or in-laws who doesn't want the child to cry? Example, don't cry, big girls don't cry. Okay, wow. So the reason why they say don't cry is because it's very natural to them already. I don't know, when I started parenting, I also tell my kids don't cry because I cannot tolerate the cries. I feel that the cries gives me anxiety and stress. And I'm pretty sure their parents and in-laws feel the same way too. When children cry, their instinct is to fix the problem, to stop the kids from crying. But they didn't realize that in the process of getting the child to stop crying, we are making the kids suppress any emotions that they're experiencing. And you need to make sure your parents and in-laws know about this. They first need to be educated about why is it that children cry in the first place and what happens when we tell them not to cry. Okay, of course, our first step is always to educate them. We educate ourselves, then we educate them. if they are totally not open to learning at all, right, don't feel defeated or don't think that, you know, they don't love their grandchildren. They are not there, like what Allyna said, they are here to dote on the kids. I don't think grandparents have any intention to do any form of discipline, you know. So the responsibility lies with us to tell our children. So if your grandparents are still telling them don't cry, when you are taking over, allow your child to cry. Process this whole thing with your kids. You know, just not earlier on, you know, grandma told you not to cry. You know what? Remember we talked about how crying helps you to feel better? You can cry, okay? It's okay for you to cry when you don't feel good. Grandma is still trying. She's still learning how to work through all these emotions. And when she was growing up, nobody taught her that. So, but for you, there's mama to teach you this, because mama went to read up about what it is like when you are throwing a tantrum and all. I would tell my kids, you know, very literally, like, oh, why am I doing all this? Because I'll tell them it changes your brain. If you do a habit, you practice something over and over again, you're rewiring your brain. And I give these words to my kids because when you provide this information, the kids understand. Okay, they may not understand fully, but they understand you are caring for them. And you are confident. You're a confident mom who knows what you're doing, keeping the child safe, keeping the child healthy, and making the decisions for the child so that, you know, the child will benefit and to thrive. Okay? All right. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And I think we will end our session here. Thank you, Allyna, for helping.
Yeah.
Any last things to add?
I guess I can only say, like, till today, I'm very thankful that I came across your free webinar that led me to your course, because I find that as much as the course is very good in equipping us in knowing how to connect with our children, and in the and in that process we gain cooperation from them, I think that first module that you have always is about teaching us adults, the parents, how to manage our own emotions first. I found that that is really the key to knowing how to stay calm before we can go into the next step of connecting with our children. Because honestly, this past week has been more hectic because I went back to office, and coming back so tired, I find myself going a bit back to the yelling phase, because I'm so tired, I'm so frustrated, and I have difficulty managing my own emotions. So, and I'll be thinking, why did I go back to this again after 2 years? Then I realized that it was really helpful to go back to that first few modules where we first learn how to understand why we're feeling this way, and then how to manage through it, regulate our own emotions. Then we have enough capacity to then manage our children's emotions. So that's why whenever I tell my sisters or my friends about your course, I always emphasize, like, what I find that was really helpful is you don't start off the course teaching us how to manage our kids. You always start off the course teaching us how to manage ourselves, our adults, ourselves first, and then in the same way we are modeling to our children. You know, the parents get angry, and we let them see for themselves how we manage our own anger, our own frustration. Yeah. So I think that is what I find that was my biggest takeaway every time you run this course, and I was in there helping with the comments. Yeah. So that's really always a very good reminder. Yes, our self first is always managing our own self first.
Yes, absolutely. So it's so important. So I think you got to mute.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's so important for us to manage ourselves. Sorry, Allyna, I can still hear my echo. Okay, can? Yeah, okay. So I just want to add on to what Allyna said. Yeah, if you don't manage yourself, you cannot manage the rest. So Allyna said she was very tired. I also want to add on to your pregnancy hormones. So all these are causing you to be so tired. And it's okay. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay that some days you just mess up. I just want to assure everyone here that it's repairable. So you can always repair the relationship with your kids again. And when they see you repair, they see you feeling frustrated and tired, it becomes very normal in the family. So you are normalizing all the different states of emotions so that when the kids experience that, when they don't do well for their spelling, or they don't do well in school, or they cannot play a piano piece, they realize that, oh, actually I see mommy feeling frustrated before. Okay, so I'm normal. Yeah, but I remember mommy told me to breathe. Okay, I try. These kind of things that you will not, you'll be very surprised. The kids they know what to do. Yeah, so if you can model it, you can show it to them. At least one person showing up, you can influence so many people. All right. So yeah, Dusty Pink said, same Allyna. I also regress, and today I was looking at the course materials again. Yeah, in case you're wondering why Allyna is still looking at the course materials 2 years after she has joined me, it's because you have lifetime access to all the resources and any new updates. Because I really believe in lifelong learning. Even myself, when I attend courses, I will look back at the stuff that I need again, and also to just recap. All right. So again, I don't want to hold you guys back. Thank you so much for being here. And if you have any further questions about the course, or anything about parenting with your in-laws or anything, I think Lena and I will be very happy to help you. Okay. So have a good night. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.